Not everyone who comes to a psychiatrist has a mental illness. Sometimes they are sent because people around them believe something must be psychologically wrong. I remember a patient, let's call him David, who was about to lose his job after years working in the same company. He had received multiple warnings. His supervisors described him as difficult, confrontational, even rebellious. When he came to my consultation, he was desperate. He kept saying, I'm not wrong. I'm just defending myself. And the truth was, he wasn't completely wrong. There had been unfair situations at work, but something else was happening. It wasn't the problem itself that was putting his job at risk. It was how his frustration was coming out through his words. Hello, I'm Dr. Katia Batista, psychiatrist, and today I want to talk about something we rarely discuss: how communication can sometimes be mistaken for a mental health problem, and why the way we express emotions shapes how others perceive us, even when our feelings are valid. Many people are surprised when I tell them that not everyone who comes to a psychiatric consultation has a disorder. Sometimes what brings them there is no illness, but patterns of communication that slowly create conflict around them. Now, this doesn't mean people should stop expressing emotions. In fact, emotions are essential for healthy relationships and healthy communication. The problem is not feeling angry, hurt, or frustrated. The problem appears when emotions either take complete control of our words or disappear completely from them. Some people react immediately, raising their voice, confronting impulsively, speaking from anger. Others do the opposite. They stay silent. They avoid conflict. They suppress what they feel until resentment builds inside. And sometimes people are labeled as too sensitive simply because they express emotion openly, crying, withdrawing, or feeling overwhelmed. In mental health, the goal is not emotional silence. The goal is emotional expression that creates understanding instead of disconnection. Our ability to pause between emotion and reaction depends on emotional regulation and impulse control, skills that develop through experience, learning, and self awareness. Over time, I started noticing that communication difficulties usually follow certain patterns. In psychiatry, we often see that the way people communicate is influenced by a few key psychological processes. Let me show you what I mean. The first factor is emotional regulation. This is our ability to experience strong emotions without letting them immediately take control of our words. Emotions are natural and necessary. Anger, frustration, disappointment all carry important information. But when emotions rise faster than our ability to regulate them, communication becomes reaction instead of expression. I often see this in workplace when someone feels treated unfairly and the emotion becomes so intense that the message comes out as anger instead of clarity. And this doesn't happen only at work. It happens during arguments between partners when exhaustion turns into harsh words. When a parent reacts strongly to a child after a stressful day, or when family discussions suddenly switch from understanding to conflict. The second factor is impulse control, is the ability to create a brief pause between what we feel and what we say or do. There is usually a small moment, sometimes only seconds, where the mind can choose how to respond. When that pause disappears, communication becomes immediate and impulsive. A message sent too quickly during an argument, an interaction before fully listening, a reaction driven by emotion rather than reflection. Many communications conflicts are not caused by intention to harm, but by the absence of that small psychological pause. In psychiatry, we understand that this pause depends on self regulation that help us slow down emotional reactions and organize our thoughts before speaking. The third factor is relational learning. Most people are not consciously choosing how they communicate. They are repeating patterns learned early in life. We learn communication long before we understand it. In some environments, emotions were expressed loudly. In others, conflict was avoided or silence was safer than speaking. Some people learned that disagreement meant rejection. Others learned that raising their voice was the only way to be heard. Without realizing it, these early experiences shape how we communicate in adult relationships with partners, co-workers, friends, and even our children. So sometimes what looks like attitude is actually learned communication. The fourth factor is social interpretation. Communication is not only about what we intend to say, it's also about how others emotionally interpret what they hear. Human beings constantly read emotional signals, tone of the voice, facial expressions, timing, and context. The same sentence can feel supportive to one person and critical to another one. For example, direct communication may feel efficient to one individual but harsh or rejecting to someone else. This is why misunderstandings happen even when intentions are good. In communication, meaning is not created only by the speaker, it's co created by the emotional perception of the listener. So, communication difficulties are rarely about words alone. They emerge from emotions, impulses, learned patterns, and perception working together in real time. When people start to understand these emotional processes, something important changes. Communication stops being only a reaction and start becoming a choice. In mental health, this way of expressing emotions in a balanced and respectful manner is often called assertive communication. But assertive communication does not mean suppressing emotions or becoming emotionally neutral. It means expressing what we feel in a way that allows others to understand us without attacking and without abandoning our own needs. Many people misunderstand assertiveness. Some believe it means staying calm all the time. Others think it means avoiding conflict. But healthy communication is not about feeling less, it's about expressing emotions with awareness of timing, tone, and intention. You can be angry and still communicate clearly. You can disagree and still show respect. You can express discomfort without creating emotional harm. On one side, there are people who express emotions impulsively, reacting quickly, speaking from frustration or anger. There are others who remain silent, avoid confrontation, or suppress feelings until emotional distance grows. Assertive communication exists in the middle, where emotions are expressed but not allowed to control the relationship. It can look like a partner saying, I felt hurt when that happened, instead of accusing, or a colleague expressing disagreement without turning the conversation into conflict. Assertiveness is not about changing who you are, it's about giving your emotions a language that others can understand. In psychiatry, we often learn that human suffering is not always caused by major events. Sometimes it grows quietly through repeated misunderstandings, unresolved conversations, and emotions that were never truly understood. Many conflicts are not created by lack of love, lack of respect, or bad intentions. They are created when emotions are expressed in ways that others cannot emotionally receive. Words have emotional weight. They can create safety or distance, understanding or defensiveness, connection or isolation. And often, people are not trying to hurt each other, they are simply speaking from emotional states they don't fully recognize. Learning to communicate differently is not about becoming perfect, it's about becoming aware. Aware of what we feel, aware of how we express it, and aware that every conversation is an opportunity either to strengthen or to weaken a relationship. Because communication is not only about words, it's about emotional understanding between human beings. Sometimes changing the way we speak doesn't change only a conversation, it changes the emotional space where relationships grow. If this conversation helped you see communication from a different perspective, I invite you to subscribe to my channel. Here, I explore mental health, human behavior, and everyday experiences through the lens of psychiatry in a way that help us better understand ourselves and the people around us. Don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. I'd love to know your thoughts or experience with communication in daily life. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.